I can teach you. Answer difficult questions in seconds, and all starts off with the basic skill of dividing by 10. Now, I'll be honest with you, I know you move the decimal point left or right, and I can never remember how you divide by 10. So let's start off with a simple number we can all agree on, and we'll move the decimal point to the right. So that gives us 123.4, which is definitely 10 times bigger. So move to the right, 10 times bigger. I could probably guess now, but we'll work it out. Take the decimal place now to the left, and we get 1.234, which is definitely 10 times smaller. So if it goes decimal point goes to the left, we're dividing by 10, and that is how quickly we can divide by 10, and then we can use that using the 10th rule. The other thing to remember is if you have 2/10, or 2 over 10, that's equal to a fifth, which is brilliant, because now if someone asks me what's a fifth of 80, I can quickly say, well, 1 times 80 is 80. I might not even write that, to be honest with you. A tenth of that divided by 10 will give me a tenth of 80, and that'll be a tenth of this. So let's move the imaginary decimal place to the left, and I get 8. I get 8, which if I multiply by 2, I've now got 2/10 of 80, which is 16, and that is a fifth. So in 2 steps, I have divided by 10 to get a tenth, and I've multiplied by 2 to get 16, which is a fifth of 80. You can do it other ways, but that's quite very quick. The great thing is, that's all you need to remember. Divide by 10 and multiply by a number that you think is useful. So if I multiply by 2, my tenth becomes 2/10, which is equal to a fifth. If I multiply by 3, oh, it's back to tenths, 3/10. If I multiply by 4, it's 2 over 5. If I multiply by 5, which is a funny one, it's 5 over 10, which is a half. So I'm not going to do this nonsense. I'm just going to divide the number by 2. So we can forget about that. But if I multiply it by 6, I now have 3/5. Brilliant. If I multiply it by 7, I get 7/10. No surprise there. If I multiply by 8, 4 over 10. Multiply by 9, I get 9 over 10. Someone asked me what's 9/10 of 1200. I can do it really quickly using this technique, but it doesn't stop there. Let's don't forget that if I divide by 10, I get a tenth, but that's equal to 10% and a 0.1. Brilliant. So imagine, for example, I decide to multiply by 10, I get 7/10, but I also get 70% and 0.7. So if I get a pretty obnoxious question such as, oh, I don't know, 70% of 210 students hate, can that be right? 70%? I thought it was more like 90. Anyway, 70% of 210 students hate maths. How many students hate maths? I divide by 10. A tenth, or 10% of 210. Well, let's just move that imaginary decimal place and 1 in, get rid of the 0 basically, and we end up with 21. But it's 70% I want. I don't want 10%, so I multiply by 7. And 7 times 10% is 70% of 210, which is 7 times 21, obviously. And that's 7 times 20, which is 140, plus 7 times 1 is 7, 147. This is doable without a calculator. And this is why the tenths times table is absolutely brilliant when you do not have a calculator. So let's remember, using this method, I can find a tenth, obviously. I can find a fifth somewhere. I can find 3/10. I can find 2/10. I can find 3/10. I can find 7/10. I can find 4/5. I can find 9/10. But also in percentage, I can find 10%. I can do that. I can find 20%. That's just 2 times the tenth. 30 and 40%. Not bother with 50% because that's a half. 60, 70, 80. Do we have an 80? Well, we might do 80, 90. I can do 0.1. 0.1's a tenth. I can do 0.1, 0.2. I can probably do 0.3. I can do 0.3, 0.4, 0.6. If I multiply it by 7, I've got 0.7. If I multiply it by, oh, I don't know, if I multiply by 8, I've got 0.8. So all of these I can find using the 10th rule. What is 30% of 2,000? Easy. Divide by 10, multiply by 3. So easy, so powerful, so useful. It's probably something that I should have mentioned in the past, especially when you haven't got a calculator. Now, here's your opportunity to show me your skills. I hope you found them okay. Here is the answers. What is a tenth of 355? Well, divided by 10, we just move the decimal place to the left, 53.5. That was a bit of a warmer-upper, really. This one, we divide by 10, because it's the 10th rule. I think we've sorted that out. We get 24. But it's a fifth we are after. And a fifth is twice as much. It's 2/10. So I multiply that by 2. And that gives me a fifth of 240 is 48. Easy, so quick. This is horrible. 0.7 times 120. Divide by 12. What is 0.1 of 120? It's a tenth. I move it to the decimal place. It's 12. And now I need 0.7. So I need 7 times that much. So 7 times that is 0.7 of 120 is 7 times 12. Oh, I can hear my brain working. 84. 7 times 10, 70. 7 times 2 is 14. Right. Tortuous, but worth it. Takes tricky questions and makes them easy. And that's what we're about here. So, why not subscribe if you've liked this video? If you haven't liked it, why not subscribe? See you soon. Bye-bye.